I won't swear on here, but just effing do it. Just do it. Just take action, take massive action, and just do it.
Just do it.
Fail, learn, succeed. Yeah.
Hi, welcome to Voices for Impact. My name is Danielle Mensing, founder of Voices for Impact, and today I'm chatting with my friend Dan Russell. Dan launched his first startup company, WriteFlick, in college at Lemoyne, and launched his second startup company, But Be Dry, fall 2018. He is just someone who is passionate about self-development, encouraging others, and having a growth mindset. So thank you so much, Dan, for coming on today. I'm so excited to talk with you.
Of course. Thank you. It's a pleasure being on here. I love what you're all about. I love your mission. So I'm excited.
Thanks. So Dan, take me back to when you were younger. And did you always have this entrepreneurial spirit about you?
I did, yes, to the younger years, ever since '89, not to age myself. But yeah, so when I was little, it started with a lemonade stand. So I was always psyched every summer since I was 5 years old. I'd always run out to the front yard or down the street, make the marketing material, the big signs, maybe put a little glitter on it, highlight it so it really stood out, and went down there and sold lemonade. And also, my mom always caught me walking around the house ever since I was 4 in a suit, like button-up suit, tie, walking around with like a purple briefcase, pretending like I was a business person. So I think I had it inherently in me since I've been little to be a businessman.
So tell me what excites you about starting or creating your own business venture. Talk to me about the ones you've started up already.
Yeah, definitely. So it kind of like going back to the lemonade stand, starting the lemonade stand. In high school, I sold bubble gum too. So what I did was I bought in bulk at BJ's bubble gum, and then I went to school, and during lunchtime and afterwards, I would do an exchange, just give them a piece of bubble gum for 50 cents or a pack for $1. So it was that's what kind of got me excited, because that actually, like, in a very small way and very humble way, kind of blew up across my school, and that really kind of like psyched me up, and I kind of discovered my passion there. I was like, okay, this is fun. It was my procrastination that actually helped me start my first venture. So for the procrastinators out there, listen to this. So I was late at handing in, I did the 5-year accounting program, and I was handing in my schedule to the MBA director at the time. And I was 3 months late handing in my schedule and submitting it. He called me into his office. It was like getting called into the principal's office. He was like, "What do you enjoy?" I'm like, "I enjoy entrepreneurship." He's like, "Aha, there we go." He's like, "You know what you're going to do for me?" He's like, "We're going to send you to Syracuse University, and you're going to take a class called What's the Big Idea?" So I walk in, and it was all different majors, and the goal of the class was to come up with ideas. He's like, "This is going to be a very simple, easy A, but it's not about the grade. It's about what you take from the class." So kind of fast forwarding, my buddy and I came up with an idea where you could annotate the web. So you could post a note, you could highlight, and you could draw on any website and instantly share it with someone in one click. So we brought this idea to the class, pitched it, made it to the top 10 ideas, and we built the prototype within 1 week. I found a programming buddy of mine in Webster there, where I'm from, and he built the plugin to Google Chrome in a week. And from there, we launched the first business called WriteFlick.
So how did you get from WriteFlick to now But Be Dry? What is the story there? What has happened in between those two startups?
So what's interesting about that is WriteFlick was wonderful because I failed a lot with it. Like, I came up with an idea, but I came up and actually built an idea to fruition, but I had no idea how to execute it. But I failed, learned a lot of lessons, was running out of money. I was college student with debt. And so I started working at a local company called Cherokee. And during that tenure at Cherokee, I came up with an idea when I went to a golf course with my dad. The night before the championship round, it downpoured, just torrential downpour, just thunder, like, oh gosh. Next day, sunny and 70s. So my dad and I head out to the golf course. And as we're traversing throughout the course, we're getting tired. So we find an area that we thought was dry, and we went to sit down. Lo and behold, sat down, got right back up. My butt was completely soaking wet, and it was completely dirty, and I had khakis on. And what made it even worse was I was headed up the 10th tee to go to the porta potty, and who walks out of the porta potty? Michelle Wheat. At the time, she was very famous golfer. She was being compared to like the Tiger Woods of ladies pro golf. She was
Wow.
like 18 at the time. I'm like, oh,
Not
no,
the time to have a wet butt.
no, not at all. Not, it was very embarrassing. But my dad's like, no, like, but really, he's like, they should invent something. They should invent something like what your mother wears, a fanny pack, where you wear it around your waist, hands-free portable. You don't have to carry it. You don't have to carry a chair. You don't have to lug that around, a towel. Just flip it to the back, unroll it, sit down, and protects your butt from getting wet. So I went to Joann Fabrics, and I bought some plastic. I bought a string, tied it around my waist, rolled it up. I'm like, okay, that's a butt be dry. Wrote it down in my notebook. But like what most people do is I wrote it down in my notebook. I was pumped about it for a week, and then it just vanished. It disappeared. Priorities at work, priorities in life, relationships, things like that came into the mix. So what happened is over the course of 6 years, it took me 6 years to revisit that magical notebook. Between those 6 years was probably one of the most crucial, important times in my life, because I was working at Cherokee, working with companies like Dollar Shave Club, Warby Parker, a lot of these disruptive startups at the time. And I learned so many fascinating things from the teams at both companies. And I learned a lot from my mentors at Cherokee that have really helped me and guided me along, as well as Digital Hive, which I worked for after Cherokee. And during the time at both companies, I really learned and understood what it took to execute, what it took to market, what it took to build a brand, what it took to bring it to the right target audience with the right messaging, and what it took to influence people to actually go on, purchase a product, solve a problem, how to communicate that problem. It's a simple thing. I'm protecting butts, I'm keeping them dry, but how do you communicate that so people truly understand the value and where and when they can use it?
So with all these mentors that you have, what's one thing that has really resonated you from what they've said? You know, you're talking about communicating to your audience and influencing an audience. What else is there?
So it's a lot of it isn't only from the business side, but it's from the mental side. It's from the mental side. It's from the persistence. It's from keeping yourself mentally, physically, spiritually healthy as well. So it's a lot of grind. It's a lot of no's. It's a lot of failures. It's a lot of trial and error, grind, mental grit, and following through and really just taking action and taking massive action, kind of having, I hate to say smart goals because smart goals drive me nuts, but it's true. If you have smart goals, or at least goals written down along the way, there's certain rituals, routines, and everything I do to keep myself focused on the goal and to keep persisting. Max, one of my mentors at Cherokee, and he basically just effing do it. I won't swear on here, but just effing do it. Just do it. Just take action, take massive action, and just do it.
Just do it.
Fail, learn, succeed. Yeah.
That is so simple, yet so hard for a lot of people, is to just go out there and do and just take action. I think, how do you even begin to go from an idea, and then I think a lot of people are also perfectionists, so they want to perfect that idea before they just take action on it.
Yes. That's one that I'm a perfectionist. I am a perfectionist, and it's a lot of times analysis paralysis because I want to perfect everything. And that is not good. MVP, minimum viable product. That's one of the things I screwed up with WriteFlick, is I kept on trying to build. And the other thing is you're not building it for yourself. You're building it for your audience.
Where can you buy Butt Be Dry?
Yeah, so you can buy Butt Be Dry at buttbedry.com. You can also buy, that's buttbedry.com. You can also buy it on Amazon.com, and you can also buy it on Walmart.com.
I'm gonna tell you, I mean, when we get back out there after this quarantine and we're having some more outside games or outside concerts even, I'm gonna get my Butt Be Dry out and use it for when I'm sitting on the lawn watching.
For sure.
Even if I think that's so clever. Yeah, and I like the name too. It's funny. And it sticks with you too, which I think is probably an important part of naming any product. So what do you think is that skill or characteristic you have that has helped you get through so many challenges of starting a startup?
I think persistence and positivity. persistence and positivity. My dad told me a story way back. He was a long 40-year, like 37-year at Kodak. He survived through like the layoffs and everything. It was super proud of him and a great role model for me. It's incredible how he made it through. And he taught me early on that when he was interviewing for his job at Kodak, for the first absolute job, and kept on following up, showing his passion, showing his excitement, and showing up. And he eventually, the guy was basically like, "You're not going to stop calling me, are you?" He's like, "No." And he got his job there. And then for 37 years, he worked at Kodak.
Wow.
So that always stuck with me. I'm like, I'm just going to keep on trying no matter how many times I get, no, no matter how many times someone says no or pushes back. Like, I'm going to be, strategic about it. I'm going to be smart about it. That coupled with positivity and the positive routines. My buddy Anthony Demario works for, I don't know if Tony Robbins, but he's a big motivational coach across the entire world and is one of 8 people that work for Tony Robbins. So gratefully, I've had my friend Anthony, who throughout the past, like I want to say 8 years, has helped me kind of maintain this very regimental morning routine, evening routine, daily routine to kind of keep my mind, spirit, and body kind of cohesive and intertwined.
Can you take us through what that looks like?
Sure. Yeah. So
I'm curious, like I need some tips and tricks of how to keep my mind positive and on a daily basis. And I think it's like probably more than just doing it once. You have to be persistent about keeping your thoughts in check.
Very persistent. So like that's one thing where it's persistence about keeping your thoughts in check, being very self-aware. And he'll be laughing on the other end of this or watching this because he'll be like, "You don't do that every morning." Like some mornings no, but for the most part, I stick to something each and every morning. What I do is I wake up when my alarm goes off at around like 7 o'clock. Get up, hop out of bed, look out the window, a glass of water, and go out into my area, which I am right now, and I'll do 100 jumping jacks, I'll do 50 push-ups and 50 sit-ups just to get it going, just to get it started, or at least spend 20 minutes doing it. Just spend 20 minutes doing jumping jacks, push-ups, getting my body active, because I'm a firm believer that your body is your temple and your body is your subconscious. And that's a deeper conversation, but I'm a firm believer that your body and your mind are very connected, and your body is kind of like carries the subconscious. So if your body's kind of feeling negative, that's going to affect your mind as well. So I try to immediately take action, get my adrenaline flowing, release that dopamine. And then after that, I go and I'll meditate for at least 20 minutes, kind of, build awareness, just kind of sit, keep track of my breathing, let my mind kind of wander. And as soon as I'm aware of my mind wandering, I come back to my breath. And I do that, and what that does is it really helps align me for the day. And then I go in and kind of visualizing the day and visualizing like things and positive things that make me physically feel good, whether it's my family, whether it's friends, whether it could be anything, something that brings me that physical, like exciting emotion. Because not only can you say words and think things, thoughts and words are extremely powerful, but you have to have the emotion, the feeling behind it.
I know when I've started to meditate, then I really started thinking. And I'm like, no, quiet the mind. But then it gets louder when you begin meditating. But that's amazing.
That's the goal, though. That's the goal. That's like the louder the mind. I don't want to say the better, because nothing's better than the other. And that's not trick, but that's the thing with meditation is if your mind's loud, that's okay. So many people I feel are taught to like silence the mind, and eventually your mind will silence. But it's just like an email inbox. Like if you have 100, 200, 2,000 unread messages, well, that's kind of all you're doing is you're going through each and every one of those messages, letting them pass through, and then bringing awareness to like the center, to your breath, and then letting those messages go through those messages again and letting them pass, not passing judgment on each and every single thought. The message, just let them pass, come through, feel it, and then move on.
So what would you say for somebody who's looking to start up their own company, has come up with an idea like you did, and has had a lot of failure, a lot of challenges present themselves, and maybe they're at a point where they're like, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore? What would you say to them?
Well, I would say first what Mac told me, just do it. Like do it, figure out the path of least resistance and do it. But there's a lot of challenges out there, like whether it is mental challenges, mental blockades, financial challenges, time, relationships, things getting in the way. I was just so depressed one March day. It was raining. It was bad. I was super depressed. I was like, all right, I wanted to learn how to code a year ago, and look where I am now. Imagine if I, for a year, just learned how to code. So what I did is I got so angry and pissed off, and I used that emotion. I was like, you know what? I want to sit my butt down right here, and I want to stare at my computer, even if it's for 20 minutes, just reading like a paragraph about code. I'm going to do that. So I told myself 20 minutes each and every single night. And that's what I did. I sat down, disciplined myself. Everyone has 20 minutes. I don't care how busy your schedule. You have 20 minutes, night, daytime, morning, whatever. Sat down for 20 minutes. Sometimes it was only 20 minutes. Sometimes it was 2 hours. Sometimes it was 6 hours. And that's kind of what I would say is someone who's been through a lot of failure, a lot of like disappointment, or like that's actually, I feel like, kind of like a badge of honor in a sense of like that's what entrepreneurship is just sit down, do it, and utilize resources. There's a lot of phenomenal resources if you're from Syracuse, and there's a lot of phenomenal resources across the country and online of supporters that will help and guide you.
What do you wish you would have known when starting out?
It's a great question. Like, don't take things personally.
That's a good one.
I take things super personal. That's one of my weaknesses and something that I continue to work on. But you get so much, like so many people chirping of like negativity towards, the product. I think it's silly, goofy, whatever. And it's like, to me, anyone can say that now. And like armor, bulletproof, like I find that funny when people find it funny because at least it's putting a smile on their face. But like there's going to be, no matter what you do, if you're making a change, there's going to be adversity, and it's to like just brush it off, like take it in, feel it, and then move forward. So I did the state fair last year, and as you can imagine, you get a whole slew of people.
Yeah.
The distribution,
yeah,
it's incredible, the people and things you see and the experiences you have, even just as a visitor there. But be a guy with a company named Bumpy Dry there. So, I mean, I got like 90% of the people that walk by, 99, they all laugh. They love the name, whether they're laughing at it or with me, they're laughing at it, and it caught an emotion. I love
right.
that. Like,
yeah.
I love that. That's the number one thing. I don't care if people are making fun of me or if they love it. It doesn't matter. It's creating an emotion. It's creating a laughter. People are going to remember that. But I had a few people, a number of people throughout the days, who came up and they just were mean. Like they said some nasty things about it. It really builds confidence and resilience. So I actually I read a book called Stillness is Key by Ryan Holiday. And he was talking about how Tiger Woods' dad, every time he went golfing, like to the point where it was almost kind of disgusting, but like would just shout obscenities to him as he was golfing in order for him to practice, like not getting distracted and people yelling stuff when he's trying to swing. The more you face that stuff, the more you become immune to it. And
but learning to like get a tough skin, especially when
yes.
you're in business, because you're going to have people that have bad things to say or good things to say, and it might not be coming out of anywhere, but just because they want to say it because it makes them feel better because of whatever they're going through, might not even have anything to do with whether your product is good or not.
Yes, it's exactly.
So, and I just want to go back a little bit when you talked about that rainy day in March, right? And you were depressed, and you were like, you took that energy that you were feeling in a challenging time and you used it as like fuel to sit down, and even if it was 2 minutes a day or 6 hours a day, to learn something that was going to benefit you down the road. A lot of people would have just stayed in that mindset. I think it's pretty interesting that you took that mindset and you were like, oh, I got to do something with this anger and depression I feel, and put it towards making something happen for you.
Yes. That's like, I mean, you hit the nail on the head right there. Like that's like, and sure, before that, there's days where I would be depressed and didn't do anything, and that did eat at me. And it's like, at the end of the day, like that's why I'm a firm believer that your body is your subconscious, and your body, mind, spirit, soul connection is take big action. It's like form follows function. So just take action, do anything. You don't have to be great at it. You don't have to think it's just like weightlifting or working out. Like start with like a quarter of a mile. Start by walking your path that you're going to run. And then each and every day that will compound. Your body will get used to it. You'll get used. It's a habit. there's good habits and there's bad habits. Both compound. Both are, whatever habit you have is going to compound and you're going to become that.
How do you define success?
Yes. That's a good question.
It's a deep question.
It is.
Feel free to take a minute.
I would say define success. It all depends. No, I think how you define success, honestly, is being at peace and being fulfilled. So I know this quarantine has taught myself a lot. It's taught a lot of people a lot of things. One of the toughest things a human can do is sit in a room by themselves alone without any stimulation. Like, that's so difficult because you're so distracted, so stimulated by iPhones, by television. And I think if someone, a lot of people have learned a lot, like, holy cow, like, I'm very grateful for my job. I'm on furlough. I'm so grateful for my job because that's where I feel fulfilled because I'm adding value. I think at the end of the day, I think it'd be a good goal for people to be able to sit in a room alone by themselves, disconnect from all the stimulus, and kind of, work on the inner world. You can do something because you're passionate about it and it truly helps someone else. You're going to feel fulfilled, and you're going to feel more at peace. You're going to feel less anxiety. You're going to feel a lot less stress. You're going to feel at one with what you're doing, how you're acting, your body, your words, your emotions, the way you interact with people. You're going to gain confidence. I feel that all emanates and starts from the ground with, like, finding something you're passionate about, or taking, if you're not passionate about something, because I know a lot of times, I'll have a lot of critics say, well, I don't have a passion, or I don't know what my passion is. I'm frustrated. I can't find it. I think then it's like taking in that very moment something that you might dislike that you're doing, and finding how you can gamify it, or figuring out the positives in it. I think it's, at the end of the day, finding fulfillment and being at peace with what you're doing.
That is so true. And I think that's really impactful for people, and hopefully impactful for our viewers listening to this today. Thank you so much for giving us some insight into what you do and all the startups that you've created and kind of how you got to that point. And thank you so much for those that are tuning in and watching. Voices for Impact is on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So please follow us and like us to stay connected, and see you next time on Voices for Impact.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You're doing great things.